News of Earth's revelation spread across the galaxy faster than coalition commanders thought possible, using communication networks that humanity had secretly established over centuries. Within hours, every major civilization had heard that the primitive humans were actually the most advanced species in known space. The carefully maintained balance of galactic power that had existed for over 1,000 years began cracking like ice under pressure as species throughout the galaxy realized that everything they thought they knew about politics and military strength was wrong. Species that had been part of the Dominion Coalition for centuries started asking questions they had never dared voice before. If humans could deceive everyone so completely, for so long, what other assumptions about galactic civilization might be completely false? Ambassador Hyun Woo found himself handling communications from over 300 different worlds within the first day after the revelation. His communication systems automatically expanded their capacity as messages flooded in from across known space. Some worlds wanted immediate diplomatic relations with Earth's real government. Others demanded explanations about whether human agents had been operating within their societies for generations. A few smaller species threatened to launch preemptive attacks before Earth could extend its influence further. The Zeridian Empire, one of the galaxy's oldest and supposedly wisest civilizations, sent desperate messages through channels they believed were secure. They offered immediate alliance with Earth, hoping to position themselves favorably with what was clearly the galaxy's new dominant power. Their desperation was obvious and somewhat amusing to human observers who had been monitoring Zeridian communications for decades. The Zeridians had always considered themselves superior to younger species, but now they were begging for protection from primitives they had ignored. Dr. Chang Min analyzed data flowing in from across the galaxy through monitoring stations that had been hidden throughout known space for generations. The information revealed how quickly the old galactic order was beginning to collapse. Several smaller species that had been oppressed by coalition member worlds were already declaring independence, believing that Earth's revelation had shifted the balance of power enough to make rebellion possible against their former oppressors. The carefully maintained system of conquest and tribute that had held the galaxy together for centuries was falling apart as individual worlds began making their own decisions about their future rather than accepting domination. Military strategist Yoon Seo observed coalition forces throughout their territory beginning to pull back toward their core worlds as panic spread through their ranks. Their confidence had been completely shattered by discovering that their intelligence networks had been compromised for centuries. Coalition commanders no longer knew who they could trust or what information was reliable. Paranoia spread faster than any weapon could have achieved as officers questioned their own subordinates and governments investigated their most trusted advisors. The psychological impact of learning that human agents had been guiding coalition policy for generations was more devastating than any military defeat. The coalition had based their entire identity on being the galaxy's dominant intelligence service. The most interesting responses came from species that had remained neutral in galactic politics for centuries. Ambassador In-ho received dozens of requests for meetings from civilizations that had maintained independence by staying small, hidden, and unnoticed. These neutral species wanted to know if Earth's strategy of appearing weak while building strength could work for other civilizations. They had survived by avoiding the attention of galactic powers, but they were fascinated by humanity's active deception. The neutral civilizations had spent centuries hiding from stronger enemies, but Earth had shown them a different approach, actively deceiving those enemies while building superior capabilities. The possibility of turning the tables on galactic bullies was appealing. Some coalition member worlds began sending secret messages to Commander Ji Hai, offering to switch sides or provide intelligence about coalition military capabilities. They had seen the writing on the wall and wanted to align themselves with the winning side. The offers came from worlds that had joined the coalition through conquest rather than choice. They had always resented their subjugation, but had never believed resistance was possible until they saw what Earth had accomplished. The Coalition's unity was fracturing as individual worlds looked out for their own interests rather than maintaining loyalty to an organization that had proven vulnerable to complete deception, centuries of expansion based on fear rather than genuine. Cooperation communication networks throughout galactic space buzzed with theories, fears, and wild speculation about Earth's true capabilities. Some species began examining their own histories, wondering if other seemingly primitive worlds might be hiding advanced civilizations. The age of assuming that visible strength equaled real power was ending, replaced by a new era where nothing could be taken at face value. Species that had ignored primitive neighbors for centuries suddenly began paying very close attention. Archaeological teams rushed to re-examine ruins on worlds the Coalition had conquered, looking for signs of advanced technology that might have been overlooked or deliberately hidden. Xenobiologists studied primitive species with new interest. The possibility that intelligence and patience could triumph over raw military might was revolutionary for a galaxy that had always believed in the supremacy of visible force. Species began reconsidering their approach to politics. Warfare and expansion trade networks began shifting as merchants tried to align themselves with Earth rather than the weakening Coalition traders who had ignored human space for centuries suddenly found themselves desperate to establish commercial relationships. The economic implications were staggering as species realized that Earth controlled technology that could revolutionize manufacturing, transportation, and communication. The primitive world they had dismissed was actually the source of the galaxy's future prosperity. Within a week of Earth's revelation, the galactic political landscape had changed more than it had in the previous century, as species throughout known space were forced to confront new realities about power, intelligence, and survival. The transformation was so rapid and complete that many species struggled to adapt to a universe where their fundamental assumptions about strength and weakness had been proven wrong. The galaxy would never trust appearances again. Species that had spent centuries building visible military might suddenly realized they had been wasting resources on outdated approaches to power. Earth had proven that true strength came from invisible preparation, intelligence networks, and technological superiority. The psychological impact extended beyond politics and military affairs as entire civilizations began questioning their cultural values and social structures. If humans could achieve so much through cooperation and long-term planning, perhaps competition was not the only path. Young members of various species began studying human culture and philosophy, looking for clues about how a divided, primitive world could secretly unite to achieve such remarkable success. The human model became a source of inspiration. The galaxy was discovering that diversity of thought, patient planning, and genuine cooperation could achieve results that conquest and domination never could. Earth had not just revealed superior technology, they had demonstrated a superior way of thinking. As news continued to spread, the number of species seeking contact with Earth grew exponentially. The primitive world that had been ignored for centuries was suddenly the most important destination in the galaxy for diplomats, traders, and scholars. Dr. Minho pressed the activation button for the quantum displacement drives that had been hidden throughout the solar system for decades, waiting for this exact moment. The drives hummed to life with a sound that traveled through space itself, making reality bend and twist around them like water. Suddenly, what appeared to be completely empty space around Earth began showing massive defense platforms materializing from invisible dimensions. Each platform was larger than the biggest ships in the Dominion fleet, bristling with weapons that gave off energy readings no alien computer could understand or classify. The alien commanders watched their sensors in complete shock and growing terror as humanity's true military power revealed itself. Around them, like magic, platform after platform appeared from nowhere, each one more massive and threatening than the last. The primitive humans had somehow hidden an entire fleet admiral. Kent of the Dominion Coalition stared at his instruments, refusing to believe what they were telling him. The readings showed technology that was impossibly advanced, energy signatures that suggested power beyond anything his species had developed in 10,000 years of civilization. The platforms that surrounded his fleet were not just larger than coalition ships, they were built using completely different principles of physics and engineering. The energy readings suggested weapons that could manipulate matter at the subatomic level, reshape space and time itself. Commander Eugene opened communication channels that used frequencies the galactic powers did not know existed, bypassing every known communication system in the galaxy. Like they were children, toys. Earth was ready to speak to the universe with its real voice for the first time. The message was broadcast simultaneously to every inhabited world in the Dominion Coalition, something that should have been impossible with any known technology species across 47. Different worlds stopped what they were doing to listen as the weak humans delivered an ultimatum. "We are not the primitive species you believe us to be." The message said in perfect translation, "For every language, leave our system now or discover why the galaxy should have feared us instead of underestimating us." The words carried a cold certainty that made alien blood freeze. The transmission reached every world at exactly the same time, ignoring the normal delays of space travel. The technology behind this feat was beyond coalition understanding, suggesting that humans had solved problems in physics that the greatest alien minds considered impossible. Engineer Haywan brought the stellar manipulation arrays online from her control station on Europa, the ice-covered moon of Jupiter. These massive installations had been disguised as simple mining operations for over a century, hiding their true purpose from alien observers. The arrays were actually weapons that could channel the power of the sun itself, focusing stellar energy into beams of destruction that could cut through any known material. The disguise had been perfect, making the installations look like crude attempts to extract water and minerals to demonstrate their capabilities. Hay-1 targeted 3 large asteroids floating in the outer regions of the solar system. Each asteroid was the size of a small moon made of solid rock and metal that would normally take industrial mining equipment years to break apart. The stellar arrays fired concentrated beams of solar energy that vaporized the massive space rocks in seconds. Each asteroid simply ceased to exist, turned into expanding clouds of superheated gas that glowed like tiny stars. The demonstration was visible to every ship in the coalition fleet. The destruction was so complete and sudden that it took the alien commanders several minutes to understand what they had witnessed. Their instruments confirmed that mountain-sized asteroids had been completely destroyed by weapons that used the power of a Star Lieutenant Wu Xiok, piloted the first wave of Earth's true starfighters from their hidden base inside Luna Earth's moon, launching from hangars that had been excavated deep beneath the lunar surface. These were not the crude chemical rockets the galaxy knew about. The starfighters that emerged were sleek vessels that moved through space like they were dancing rather than flying. They used propulsion systems that worked without any visible exhaust, or energy signature moving faster than light without using any technology the Coalition recognized. The fighters appeared around the alien fleet before the invaders could react to their launch. Their movement was so smooth and coordinated, it looked like a ballet performed in the vacuum of space. Each pilot knew exactly where to position their ship for maximum psychological impact. Within minutes, every ship in the Coalition fleet found itself surrounded by human fighters that aimed weapons. Glowing with barely contained energy, the message was clear and unmistakable: surrender. Immediately, or be destroyed by forces beyond your understanding. Dr. Subin revealed the existence of Earth's Galactic Intelligence Network to the shocked Coalition. Commanders through data transmissions that bypassed their security systems. Humanity had not just been hiding their technology, they had been secretly studying every major civilization. The intelligence network was vast and sophisticated. Human agents had infiltrated coalition governments, military organizations, research facilities, and even noble families for over 2 centuries, gathering information and influencing decisions from within. The extent of the infiltration was staggering and terrifying. Humans knew the coalition's battle plans, their weapon capabilities, their expansion strategies, and their internal politics better than the coalition knew themselves. Every major decision had been observed and analyzed. Many of the coalition's recent technological innovations had actually been subtle suggestions from human operatives working within their research facilities. The agents had guided development away from areas that might threaten Earth while encouraging research that could be easily countered. Captain Jae-hoon transmitted detailed scans of every ship in the coalition fleet to their own commanders, showing structural weaknesses, weapon vulnerabilities, and shield frequencies that should have been impossible for outsiders. To detect Earth knew more about coalition technology than its builders. The scans revealed that human agents had been present during the construction of coalition vessels, installing hidden monitoring devices and subtle structural weaknesses that could be exploited if necessary. The coalition fleet was compromised from the moment it was built. The psychological impact was devastating beyond any physical weapon. The coalition had always been the ones with superior knowledge and overwhelming firepower. Now they found themselves completely exposed, outgunned, and outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Lee Na watched from her command center as panic spread through the coalition fleet like a virus. Some ships began trying to retreat while others prepared for hopeless battles. Several commanders sent frantic messages to their homeworlds warning of the danger. The warnings came too late. The trap had been 3 centuries in the making. Every piece of intelligence the coalition had gathered about Earth was deliberately false information planted by human agents. Every assumption they had made was carefully crafted misinformation. General Wan Ho observed the coalition fleet's confusion with calm satisfaction. The aliens were discovering that they had been playing a game where the rules were set by their opponents. The hunters had walked willingly into a web spun by creatures far more dangerous than themselves. The coalition commanders tried to establish secure communications with their home worlds, but found that their encrypted channels had been compromised for decades. Human intelligence services were listening to every conversation, reading every message, understanding every plan. As the full scope of humanity's capabilities became clear, the Dominion Coalition faced their first real moment of uncertainty in generations. They had always been the predators in galactic politics. Now they discovered they were prey that had walked into a carefully prepared trap. The age of easy galactic conquest was ending, as Earth revealed that strength could be hidden. Intelligence could triumph over force, and patience could defeat aggression. The galaxy would never be the same because humanity was done pretending to be weak. The species that had appeared weakest was revealing itself to be the strongest and most sophisticated civilization in known space. The balance of power had shifted in a single moment, and there would be no going back to the old ways. General Kyung-soo stood in Earth's primary command center, a facility that officially did not exist anywhere in galactic records or databases. The center was built deep inside a mountain range, extending underground for dozens of levels, each containing technology that would be considered miraculous by alien standards. The command center had been constructed over 50 years ago using materials and techniques that left no trace on the surface. Each level was larger than the one above it, creating a vast underground complex that could coordinate the defense of the entire solar system. He addressed the Dominion Coalition commanders directly through communication channels that their own ships could not block or trace. His words carried the weight of 3 centuries of careful planning, patient preparation, and deliberate deception that had fooled the entire galaxy. "You wonder how a primitive species could achieve this level of technology," he said, looking directly at the alien commanders, through quantum-transmitted images. "The answer is simple. We learned from watching you make the same mistakes across dozens of worlds over hundreds of years. The Coalition had conquered hundreds of planets throughout their long history of expansion, and every single conquest had been secretly recorded by human observers using technology that remained completely invisible to alien detection systems. Hidden ships no larger than asteroids had followed Coalition fleets for centuries, documenting every invasion strategy, every tactical decision, every weakness in their approach to warfare. While the Coalition thought they were teaching the galaxy about power, humans were learning how to defeat them. Scientist Dayun displayed holographic records of the Coalition's previous conquests to their own shocked commanders using projection technology that filled the entire command center with three-dimensional images. The recordings showed battles from 50 different worlds spanning 2 centuries. The Coalition commanders watched themselves destroying civilizations that had tried to surrender peacefully, making agreements they never intended to honor, and enslaving populations that had offered no resistance. The humans had recorded everything and studied every moment. Each battle had been analyzed in detail by human strategists who looked for patterns, weaknesses, and mistakes that could be exploited. The Coalition had unknowingly provided Earth with a complete education in galactic warfare, while believing they were simply expanding their empire. Captain Jaehoon led a delegation of Coalition representatives on a tour of Earth's real industrial capabilities, taking them through facilities that would fundamentally change their understanding of what was possible. Underground cities stretched for hundreds of kilometers beneath major continents. The cities were connected by transport tubes that moved faster than sound, carrying people and materials across vast distances in minutes. The scale of construction was beyond anything the Coalition had ever attempted, even with their advanced technology and vast resources. Automated factories, the size of entire cities, had been producing advanced materials and components for generations. While the surface world appeared to struggle with basic manufacturing, the primitive rockets and simple weapons the galaxy observed were built specifically to maintain the illusion. The Coalition representatives walked through manufacturing centers that could reshape matter at the atomic level, creating any substance needed for construction or warfare from basic elements, materials that were harder than diamond, lighter than air, and more conductive than any known metal. The factories operated continuously without any visible workforce, using artificial intelligence systems that coordinated billions of manufacturing processes simultaneously. The level of automation was so advanced that entire starships could be built without any human involvement. Dr. Sang-mi demonstrated Earth's defensive capabilities to the terrified alien visitors using systems that had been installed throughout the solar system over the past century. Planetary shields flickered to life around Earth, glowing with energy that could deflect stellar-level attacks. The shields were invisible to normal observation, but Coalition instruments could detect the massive energy fields surrounding the planet like a second atmosphere. The power requirements for such defenses should have been impossible for any single world to generate. Gravitational manipulators hidden throughout the solar system activated, showing they could create artificial gravity wells strong enough to redirect entire fleets or crush ships into microscopic points. The manipulation of gravity itself was considered theoretical by most galactic civilizations. Temporal displacement fields demonstrated their ability to slow enemy vessels to a crawl while human ships moved at normal speed. The Coalition watched test objects move through areas where time itself had been altered by human technology. Intelligence Officer Moon Yu-ra revealed the true extent of human infiltration into Coalition society through detailed records that covered over 200 years of covert operations. Human agents had been working within every level of Coalition government and military. The agents had not simply gathered information, they had actively influenced Coalition development, guiding research away from dangerous areas while encouraging work in fields that could be easily countered. The Coalition had been dancing to humanity's tune without knowing it. Some Coalition representatives broke down emotionally when they learned that their own Trusted advisors, their military strategists, and even some of their family members had been human agents. The infiltration was so complete that they could no longer trust anyone. The human agents had used advanced genetic modification and surgical techniques to perfectly mimic alien physiology, living for decades within coalition society while reporting back to Earth through quantum communication systems that left no trace. Commander Bin Wu explained humanity's philosophy to the stunned coalition, leaders using simple words that carried profound meaning. You taught us that strength invites attack in this galaxy, so we chose to appear weak while becoming stronger than any civilization has ever been. The coalition had spent centuries hunting down and destroying civilizations that showed signs of advanced technology. They eliminated potential threats before they could become dangerous. Never realizing that the greatest threat was hiding in plain sight, Earth had learned that the galaxy respected only strength but attacked anyone who displayed it openly. So humanity had chosen a different path, building overwhelming power while maintaining the appearance of primitive weakness. Admiral Seung Hae presented the coalition with their new reality, using holographic displays that showed the current balance of power. Earth did not want to conquer the galaxy, but they would no longer tolerate being threatened by anyone. The coalition could choose to coexist peacefully with humanity's true capabilities finally revealed, or they could face the consequences of challenging a species that had outsmarted the entire galaxy for 3 centuries. The choice was simple, but difficult for beings who had never been on the receiving end of an ultimatum. The coalition could abandon their aggressive expansion, surrender their conquest mentality, and learn to coexist peacefully with other species. Or they could face the full might of a civilization that had been preparing for this exact confrontation for 300 years, building weapons and defenses that operated beyond the understanding of any known science. The meeting concluded with the coalition representatives returning to their ships in stunned silence. They had come to conquer a primitive world, and instead discovered they had been outplayed by a species that understood galactic politics better than they understood themselves. The revelation that Earth had been manipulating galactic events for centuries while appearing completely harmless was more shocking than any military defeat. The coalition realized they had been children playing games while adults watched from the shadows. The galaxy would never be the same because Earth had proven that true strength did not require conquest, real wisdom, did not require age and genuine power, did not require cruelty or domination. Humanity had spent 3 centuries demonstrating that the greatest victories came not from winning battles, but from avoiding unnecessary conflicts until the moment when fighting became the only option for survival and the preservation of principles. Captain Jin Woo stood on the bridge of Earth's orbital defense station, watching the massive alien fleet appear outside their solar system like ghosts coming from the darkness of space. The ships were huge, larger than anything humans had ever built, according to what the galaxy knew about Earth. But Captain Jinwoo was not afraid because he knew something the aliens did not know. The alien vessels materialized one by one from hyperspace, their dark hulls blocking out the stars behind them. Each ship was the size of a small city bristling with weapons that could destroy entire planets. The fleet stretched across space for thousands of kilometers, a display of power meant to terrify any world that saw it. For 300 years, humanity had been pretending to be weak and stupid. The people of Earth had shown the galaxy that they were just primitive beings who could barely fly in space. They fought small wars on their planet's surface and used simple rockets that moved slowly through space, making lots of noise and smoke. The alien watchers from far away had been studying Earth for generations through hidden spy probes that humans pretended not to notice. The watchers saw fighting between different countries, saw primitive technology, saw people who seemed unable to work together for anything important. The aliens thought Earth was easy to conquer. Admiral Lee received the alien message first in her command center buried deep under the mountains of Korea. The message came through on frequencies that Earth officially did not know how to use, But Admiral Lee Na had been expecting this contact for decades. The aliens called themselves the Dominion Coalition, and they said they spoke for 47 different species across the galaxy. Their message was short and mean. Earth would surrender right now within 48 hours, or they would destroy every human alive and take the planet anyway. The coalition had a simple way of doing business. They would arrive at a primitive world with their big fleet make threats and watch as the scared people gave up without fighting. It had worked hundreds of times before on worlds across the galaxy. The coalition never expected resistance from beings they saw as barely evolved. Animals. Dr. Hai-Jin worked quickly in her secret laboratory, buried far below the city of Seoul, where no alien sensors could detect her activities. She opened files that had been hidden and protected for hundreds of years, files that contained the real truth about what humanity could do and had been doing. The files showed the real story of human development, while the galaxy watched a fake show on the surface. Underground cities had been built. Weapons beyond alien understanding had been created. Ships that could move faster than light had been tested and improved for generations. The aliens thought Earth was a collection of angry nations that fought each other with basic weapons like chemical explosives and simple energy beams. They had no idea that every war they observed was carefully planned, theater designed to maintain the illusion of primitive division. The Dominion Coalition sent their detailed surrender demands through Commander So-Min's communication systems, which could receive alien transmissions that Earth officially could not understand. The demands were typical of what the Coalition expected from primitive worlds. They wanted all human leaders to come to their ships within 48 hours to formally surrender. The planet. The leaders would be kept as figureheads, while the coalition took control of all resources. The human population would work as slaves in mines and factories, building things for the alien empire. The humans would join millions of other enslaved beings from worlds the coalition had conquered over the centuries. The coalition saw this as natural and proper. Strong species ruled weak species and took what they needed. It was the way the galaxy had always worked. What the aliens did not know was that Earth's governments had been working together in secret since the year 2100. Every war they saw from their spy ships was fake. Every conflict was carefully planned and staged to make Earth look divided and weak, while humanity prepared. Humanity had learned early that the galaxy was full of hunters who attacked planets that looked strong. So the people of Earth chose to look weak instead while building strength in secret. Hidden from alien eyes, human civilization had grown far beyond what any galactic power could imagine. The real truth was hidden everywhere but invisible to alien technology. Young engineer Tae-hyun watched the alien ships through sensors the coalition could not detect. These sensors were built into asteroids' moons, and what looked like empty space itself, using technology that bent light and energy. The coalition fleet looked impressive by the standards they knew, but humanity had been ready for this exact day for 3 centuries. Hidden factories on the dark side of Earth's moon had been building weapons and ships for generations, using principles that no alien species had discovered. More factories floated in asteroid belts disguised as simple mining stations that looked like they were barely extracting basic metals. These facilities had been creating ships and weapons using science so advanced it would make even the most powerful galactic empires shake with fear. The Dominion Coalition leaders made one terrible mistake that would destroy their plans completely. They thought a planet where people fought each other could never work together against outside enemies. This assumption had worked on other worlds, but Earth was different. President Park Yonseo called for an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council using communication systems that no alien technology could detect. This organization did not exist according to any public records, but it had been planning Earth's real defense strategies for many generations leaders. From every continent attended the meeting through quantum communication channels that worked instantly across any distance. The time for hiding was finally over after 3 centuries of careful preparation and patient waiting. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what 300 years of secret development could accomplish. The aliens expected to find a weak, divided planet filled with primitives who would surrender quickly. Instead, they would discover something that would change the balance of power forever. Dr. Min Ho began powering up systems that had been waiting in darkness for this exact moment. Quantum displacement drives hidden throughout the solar system started to wake up humming with energy that could reshape reality itself. What looked like empty space around Earth was actually full of massive defense platforms, each one bigger than the largest ships in the Coalition fleet. The platforms had been there for decades, wrapped in technology that made them completely invisible to any known sensors. Commander Eugene prepared to open communication channels that worked on frequencies the galactic powers had never discovered and could not block Earth, was about to broadcast a message that would reach every world in the Dominion Coalition at the same time. The message would be simple and terrifying. We are not what you think we are. Leave now or learn why you should have feared us. The galaxy was about to discover that the meek had inherited more than just the Earth as the alien deadline got closer. More and more of Earth's hidden systems came online. Weapons that could cut through any known material. Ships that moved faster than light. Shields that could stop the energy of entire stars. The galaxy was about to meet the real human race for the first time. The Dominion Coalition had come expecting another easy conquest. Instead, they had found a species that had been playing a game far more complex and dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The hunters were about to become the hunted. 3 Coalition splinter groups decided they needed to test Earth's claims through direct combat. Despite everything they had witnessed during the initial confrontation, they refused to believe that primitive humans could possess technology superior to civilizations with millennia of spacefaring experience. The splinter groups assembled fleets from their most loyal worlds, gathering ships and crews that had never known defeat in hundreds of battles across the galaxy, their commanders convinced themselves that humanity's technology, however advanced, could not match their combined military might. Admiral Doyon watched their approach from her command station buried deep within Earth's moon, using sensors that tracked every ship in the attacking fleets. The 3 enemy formations contained over 1,500 vessels equipped with the most powerful weapons the Coalition had ever developed. The approaching fleets represented the military pride of species that had conquered dozens of worlds. Each ship crewed by warriors who had spent their lives believing in their technological and tactical superiority over primitive civilizations. The first test came from the Nexari Confederation, who sent their supposedly unstoppable dreadnoughts toward Earth's outer defenses, in a formation that had broken the resistance of entire star systems. These massive vessels had never been defeated in over 3 centuries of warfare. The Nexari dreadnoughts were engineering marvels the size of small cities, armed with weapons that could crack planets and protected by shields that had withstood the combined firepower of entire enemy fleets. Their crews were confident in their inevitable victory. Captain Seung Jin observed the approaching dreadnoughts from his control center and decided that activating Earth's primary weapon systems would be unnecessary overkill. Instead, he simply allowed the automated defense platforms to engage targets that entered their operational range. The defense platforms had been invisible to all known sensors for decades, but now they revealed themselves just long enough to demonstrate their capabilities. The platforms did not fire conventional weapons or energy beams. Instead, the attacking Nexari ships simply ceased to exist, vanishing from space and time as if they had never been constructed. The weapons that destroyed them operated on principles that removed matter from reality itself, using technology that manipulated fundamental forces, the complete disappearance of their most powerful warships without any visible weapon discharge or energy signature terrified the remaining Nexari fleet. The crews watched their flagship and escort vessels simply stop existing in the physical universe, Dr. Hyojin observed. The second assault from the Thraxian military alliance, with scientific curiosity rather than concern, the Thraxians had decided to test their quantum torpedoes, which theoretically could penetrate any known shielding technology in existence. The quantum torpedoes were the Thraxians' ultimate weapon developed over centuries of research and capable of phasing through solid matter to detonate inside enemy vessels. The weapons had never failed to destroy their targets in over 500 years. Earth's gravitational manipulation fields activated automatically as the torpedoes approached, creating localized distortions in space-time that caught the incoming weapons before they could reach their intended targets. The gravitational fields did not simply stop the torpedoes. They redirected the weapons back toward their launch ships with twice their original velocity and 3 times their destructive power enhanced by the gravitational acceleration. The Thraxian vessels found themselves being destroyed by their own ultimate weapons turned against them with devastating efficiency. The psychological impact of watching their most advanced technology used to annihilate them was crushing. The crews of the surviving Thraxian ships watched in horror as their quantum torpedoes struck their sister vessels with impossible force. The weapons that were supposed to guarantee victory had become instruments of their own destruction. The third and most serious challenge came from the Dominion, Coalition's core members who had decided that only massive, overwhelming numerical superiority could defeat Earth's mysterious defenses. They launched a coordinated assault with over 2,000 vessels, representing the combined military might of 12 different species. The fleet was the largest armada assembled in galactic history, containing enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. General Wanho allowed the enormous fleet to approach close enough to feel confident about their chances of victory. The Coalition commanders watched their sensors show apparently clear space ahead, believing they had found a gap in Earth's defenses. The Coalition fleet moved into attack formation with their most powerful battleships leading the assault. Their crews prepared for what they believed would be the decisive battle that would restore their dominance over the galaxy. Then Wanho activated just one of Earth's stellar manipulation arrays, and the attacking fleet discovered what it meant to face a civilization that could weaponize the power of stars themselves. The array created an artificial gravity well that began compressing the entire 2,000-ship armada into a space smaller than Earth's moon. The compression happened slowly enough for the Coalition crews to understand what was happening. The crews watched in helpless terror as their mighty fleet was crushed together by gravitational forces beyond their comprehension. Ships that had survived countless battles were pressed against each other until their hulls merged into twisted metal. The compression continued until nothing remained of the great armada but a dense sphere of compressed matter that glowed with the heat generated by the gravitational collapse. The most powerful fleet in galactic history had been reduced to a ball of scrap metal. Commander Yeonju ensured that recordings of each battle were broadcast live across the galaxy through communication networks the Coalition could not block. Earth wanted every species to witness what happened to those who challenged humanity's revealed capabilities. The demonstrations had their intended psychological effect as the recordings reached every inhabited world, showing the complete futility of resistance against Earth. The galaxy's most advanced weapons had proven useless against human defensive technology. Within days, the remaining Coalition holdouts were sending surrender messages to Lieutenant Colonel Miran through every available communication channel. They offered unconditional capitulation, asking only that Earth show mercy to their civilian populations. The speed of their collapse surprised even human strategists, who had predicted weeks of resistance before the Coalition accepted the new reality. Instead, the galaxy's former dominant power crumbled in less than a standard galactic week. More importantly, neutral species throughout the galaxy began actively seeking diplomatic contact with Earth, recognizing that the balance of power had shifted permanently. Ambassador Junsu found his communication systems overwhelmed with requests. Species that had maintained independence by hiding from galactic powers now emerged from isolation, believing that Earth's approach to governance might offer them protection rather than conquest. They hoped humanity would prove more benevolent. The few remaining independent civilizations sent carefully worded messages asking about Earth's intentions for galactic governance. They had witnessed what happened to those who challenged humanity and wanted to avoid similar fates. Advanced species that had avoided galactic politics by retreating to hidden systems began establishing contact with human representatives they possessed. Unique technologies developed in isolation, but were willing to share with Earth. The transformation of galactic politics was swift and complete as the age of conquest-based expansion ended overnight, replaced by a new system where Earth's power was acknowledged but not necessarily feared. Earth's response to the thousands of surrender and alliance requests would determine whether the galaxy entered an age of cooperation or simply exchanged one dominant power for another more benevolent ruler. President Choi So-young stood before the assembled representatives of Earth's true government in the Great Hall beneath New Geneva, a city that now served as humanity's first openly acknowledged global capital. The massive chamber had been constructed centuries ago in preparation for this moment. The hall was carved from solid rock deep underground and equipped with technology that could broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Simultaneously, the quantum communication arrays built into the walls could reach across impossible distances instantly. Her message was transmitted to billions of beings across known space, using networks that humanity had secretly established over 3 centuries. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy," she said, her words carrying across space to every listening civilization. "We simply wanted to survive in it. Now that our survival is assured, we offer something the galaxy has never experienced: genuine cooperation between equals rather than domination, between conqueror and conquered." The words reached species that had spent their entire histories under systems based on conquest and tribute. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a dominant power was offering partnership instead of demanding submission. The concept was so foreign to most galactic civilizations that many species needed time to understand what humanity was actually proposing. The idea that strength could be used to protect rather than dominate was revolutionary. The Earth Confederation Humanities, true government that had operated in secret for 3 centuries, began revealing its vision for galactic civilization through detailed broadcasts that explained their philosophy of cooperative governance. Ambassador Park Min-jae outlined a system where species could maintain complete independence while participating in